Here. I think we're live. All right. Let me just refresh my screen just to make sure. Uh-oh.
There it is.
Do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there it goes. I see it too. Okay. I just stopped it on my side. And everybody's going to hear all of this stuff. Here we are in April 2017. This is our Joyful Vibrant Life Power Half Hour for the month of April. And we want to welcome everyone who is joining us live and everyone who will join us in the future in April 2017 or beyond. So thank you everyone for showing up. I'm Sandy Freschi. And Amanda, do you want to introduce yourself?
And I'm Amanda Young.
Hello from Tennessee. two different parts of Tennessee in the USA, but this is the beginning of our Tennessee collaboration. So welcome. Today we are talking about, if you saw the heading that we put up before the broadcast, we're considering where we're willing and how powerful it is to be willing, and what that does to open up the blocks that you may have at the border. And what I'm talking about is actually, this is actually kind of like part 2 of an interview that I did with a third person who is part of our Tennessee collaboration, Patrick Davis. Patrick is an executive coach and a business coach, and he coaches around the principles of the woman that wrote this book, Dr. Maria Nemeth. And we talked in that particular interview with him about this particular book, Mastering Life's Energies. And we talked about the concept of being at the border and how being willing to be open, to observe, to step out of the way, or whatever it is that you need to be willing to do, softens your ability to get across the border. And I know I've skipped around here, but being at the border, in the context of this book, and if you want to get this book, we're considering doing a book study around this book. It's got some magnificent exercises in it, but basically the concept of being at the border is that place where we come from, the sense of our ideas and our inspiration, and the wonder of how things can come together or manifest. And as we go from idea to action, there's kind of like this border here. And a lot of times we get stopped by the monkey mind, which we talked about a lot, and we're going to talk a little bit about today, because the monkey mind, or the mind chatter, wants to keep us keep us safe, and the border looks like it's threatening. Like the breakthrough at the border can seem very threatening to the mind that wants to control. And we're going to link the last video to this particular broadcast, so you can go back and watch that as well. But Amanda and I have talked a lot about how just those concepts of being at the border and being willing when you're at the border has really transformed the way that we live our lives. So do you have anything to add? I'm just sort of sharing what I know. Do I need to talk about what the border is, or how to know when you're at the border, or what do you think?
Well, the first thing that helped me was just knowing about the monkey mind. Not that I didn't already know I had it, but knowing that that's what she calls it, and what Buddhist terms, I think that's where it comes from, right? The Buddhist monks, somebody termed it the monkey mind. It's pretty much just mind chatter. It's things that kind of make us start doubting ourselves, gets us uncomfortable. Whenever you're uncomfortable or you're doing something new, or if you're about to embark on something new, you know, that monkey mind gets really, really loud, and it tells you things like, no, you shouldn't do that, or, oh, you're not ready to do that yet. Why are you even thinking about doing that? You're just going to disappoint yourself, or, you know, any of those kind of things.
Yeah.
So,
Or for me, what happens is that everything gets really hard. Like it gets harder than it has to be. And you know, and the thing that runs in the back of my mind when I'm headed toward that breakthrough, when I'm moving from inspiration into action, is, you know, this is just too freaking hard, and it makes me want to just take my toys and go home. And you know what's really cool is this is so good for the people who have a strategy to wait, who are really following their strategy, their human design strategy to wait. The ones who have that strategy, because there's a lot of empty space in the waiting. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, I have a strategy to wait as a projector, and you have a strategy to wait as well as a generator.
mm-hmm.
You know, and wouldn't you agree there's like a lot of empty space there? You know, there's
and in that time, that's when my monkey mind goes bonkers, just chirp, 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 telling me things, and it makes you not want to wait. It either makes you want to just stumble through it, or like you said, pick up your stuff and go the other direction and just say, I'm done, I'm not doing this. But the first thing that Patrick taught me was just acknowledge it when it's happening. And just doing that has gotten me to a place where I don't stop, or, you know, or I don't quit, or I don't go bumbling through something and making myself do it, and I start to listen, and I can kind of be still in that. The chatter still happens, but it's not so overwhelming because I've acknowledged it. If you don't acknowledge it and you're trying to tell it to shut up, it just gets louder and louder and louder. It's kind of like if you've had kids, and I don't have kids, but I have a niece and nephew, and, you know, you tell them, oh, shut up, shush, 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 be quiet, be quiet. And then they just, you know, they can't help but giggle or laugh, or they'll do something and knock something over, and they're, you know, it's kind of like that with the monkey mind. And if you can just acknowledge it and say, you know, I know that you're over here and you guys are playing, but don't tell them what to do. That's the thing. If you start telling it to shut up and stop, and you know, or you start listening to it, that's the other thing. If you pay complete attention to it, you just kind of have to know it's there. It's kind of on the peripheral to an extent. And when that was huge for me.
Yeah. And that, you know, what you brought up about acknowledging, it's like, that's the other mind game, you know, and, you know, in terms of your human design experiment, you know, the experiment to pay attention to your strategy and wait for the projectors and the generators and the reflectors, you know, that strategy for the people who have a strategy to wait, you know, there's a second layer to that mind game, because, you know, you while you're waiting, if you're not acknowledging and, you know, and that's really the I think one of the points of mastery in waiting and the human design experiment is to be able to sit back and observe enough so that you can acknowledge that mind chatter that never goes away, that gets you off of your trajectory. And you know, to have a tool to be able to just stop and you know, the vocabulary of, okay, I'm at the border, there's my monkey mind is telling me this, and I have the ability right now to just stop and wait and breathe and acknowledge.
Mm-hmm. And acknowledge that
and
you
to be
might be
willing.
uncomfortable too. Just acknowledging the fact that you're uncomfortable, and that's why it's coming out. Most of the time, that's usually why. You're either scared, you're uncomfortable, you're charting new territory, whatever it might be. Boy, that monkey mind can just be like, hey, and it's really there for survival. And I get it. You know, you do want the monkey mind to tell you, hey, don't go that direction sometimes.
Don't jump off that cliff.
Yeah, don't go over this way because there's a snake around the corner or whatever, you know, if you're hiking or something. I don't know. But on everyday life and making decisions that are good for you, you know, that's when they can kind of flub you up a little bit. So when you get in that uncomfortable space because you're about to make a choice or a decision, or there's an opportunity that has arose,
or an invitation,
or something to respond to as a generator, invitations for projectors, that if you just acknowledge it, and then you know that and acknowledge the fact that means that there's something good, or you're getting an opportunity, or you're making a choice that can take you somewhere different. Just that plain simple fact can set you kind of at ease in that situation a little bit.
Yeah. And the acknowledgement is really, it's like the first step of being willing.
Yes.
You know, and I know we've talked in past Power Half Hours about, you know, just stop and feel your heart and feel what you feel, or I've talked about it somewhere, you know.
You did here.
And when you say, you know, when you say acknowledgement, that's really what it is. It's like, okay, you know, I've got all this, I've got to do this because of that, or this is really hard because of that, and I have this excuse over here, and you know, and this person's doing that, or whatever the story is that the monkey mind is bringing up, or the mind chatter is nattering on about. You know, just stopping and acknowledging what's under there, you know, what you feel. And I think that's what you were getting at, right? Is, you know, is I feel uncomfortable, and just being in that.
Which I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easier acknowledging after you know that you're feeling uncomfortable because you're at a breaking point. You're at a place like a fork in the road or crossroads or whatever analogy you want to use, where you can go one way or the other. Either it's two ways, you know, crossroads, or it's I'm going forward or I'm going back.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not going to go there.
But you got to be right here.
You got to be right there, and you got to be comfortable in that spot, even though it's uncomfortable. So, and knowing that might mean a better opportunity, or, you know, money, or a relationship, or a new job, or new career, or new clients, or whatever it might be. Just knowing that fact makes me want to proceed across that border and push the monkey mind not away completely, because they're not going to go. It's going to still chirp at you a little bit, but it just makes me less fearful.
Yes. And it also, you know, is that willingness to proceed.
And that's the next step. Yes. With the monkey mind.
With the monkey mind. And you have a little bit of experience with how that has kind of shaped your career direction. Do you want to share that?
Yes. Well, I have recently, I am a graphic designer by trade. I had left the graphic design field, other than doing freelance work, to work with my husband in our moving business. We recently sold our business and decided that we've got to go back and get a job. Well, you know, I've gotten used to kind of working part-time from home, and decided I wanted to work from home if I could do it, and decided that I actually enjoy getting in and out of projects versus having long-term clients when it comes to design. Not saying I'm not going to do that. I actually really do like branding and designing and doing logos and helping people with websites. But I also like doing little small tasks and getting in and out and having some flexibility. So I decided that I could do virtual assistants and signed up for some classes and became willing. And that was the part that I read. It was kind of funny. It all kind of happened around the same time. My time with Patrick was only about the monkey mind. It wasn't about the willing. The willing came starting to read the book, Mastering Life's Energies. And when I said, I am willing, and I think he had me work on a phrase, I am willing to be a loving wife, because that's number one for me. And number two was to be a successful businesswoman. And then I opened the door and said, I'm willing for any opportunity to come that I can respond to, because that's my strategy. And when I did that, I got the opportunity to sign up for a really good course. Actually, it's a university for virtual assistants. And through that, I received a notification that there were people that were looking for a graphic designer in the virtual assistant realm. I responded using my human design strategy, actually got that client. And then I got a couple other clients from other areas, and then just out of the blue just started getting more and more clients from word of mouth and different things like that. And it's all been just because I said I'm willing. I'm not lying. I'm not doing anything. I haven't even, like, I wouldn't even say that I tried to manifest a job or anything like that.
It's just opened up.
It's just been coming.
Yeah, it's been incredible.
And
and there's been a couple times.
There's been a couple times that my monkey mind is screeching at me. I don't even know that it's happening. And then I think I've had a conversation with you several times, and you're like, "Hey, I think that's your monkey mind."
And you're like, oh yeah, it could be.
and that brings me to a good point of saying that once you know about the monkey mind, it really is helpful to have an accountability partner when it comes to acknowledging the monkey mind.
Yeah.
Because being at that border all along, if the monkey mind chatter is really, really loud, there's all these doubts and fears and what ifs and worries and issues with feeling inadequate that kind of all come up when you get in those spaces. And being able to go back and say, hey, here's what's going on, here's what's happening, and having somebody else say, yes, that's your monkey mind, or calling you on it. That's the other thing. Sometimes you don't even know that it's happening.
Yeah.
And then I'll say something like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And you're like, that's your monkey mind. And I'm like, it is. Okay. And then I'm okay.
Yeah. It's incredible. It really is.
It almost makes it all kind of go away. Because I'm usually a very fearful, hesitant, anxiety-ridden person. And not saying I still don't get that way at times, but, a couple of years back, I don't even know if I would have even tried to do what I'm doing right now. And
we talked about it a couple of years back.
I would have had all these what ifs. Oh, I don't know about this. I don't know if I'm prepared. I don't know if I want to do that. And probably would have gave up and went to go get a job.
Well, we talked about it a couple of years back. And, it seems like when you worked with Patrick, that's what opened the door. Like, you just got into this willing place. I mean, you have a lot of the integration circuitry in your design as well. So you needed time to kind of work through some things, the energy of things. But, it just seemed like when you got coached into that willing place, it all opened up.
Yes.
So, so, if anyone wants to pick this book up, you can get it on Amazon, Mastering Life's Energies by Dr. Maria Nemeth. And if you are interested in a book study, please do let us know. I'll put a link down in the bottom of the YouTube on YouTube, where you can get in contact with me and just let me know. We're just seeing what emerges from this, and just working with it amongst ourselves. And we'd love to share it if there's an invitation to do so, or an opportunity for Amanda to respond to.
Yes.
So I want to just do a little bit of a meditation to give people just something to work with, to begin to focus on what it feels like to be at the border, and what it feels like to be willing, and to open up to being willing. So let's just get quiet. And if you're driving, please don't close your eyes, but otherwise, just feel your feet on the floor. Take a few deep breaths. And just allow the stress to release from your body. If you need to move your shoulders or your neck, or just stretch a little bit, feel free to do that. And if you have something that's coming up for you, like perhaps you're feeling resistance in a certain area of your life, whether that's fear, or whether it's like me, where you feel like everything is getting hard, or you're walking through mud, or whether it's something else, blame or bitterness, frustration, anger, disappointment, any of those, where life just doesn't feel like it's lining up. That's actually your border. So just tap into that feeling, come into your heart, and tap into whatever that is, that place of resistance, and what that's about. You can feel what it feels like in your heart. And then just breathe into it and acknowledge the feeling. And now you may be able to hear the stories, or the chatter, or whatever it is that's keeping this feeling in place as your border, from your border that can easily be softened so that you step over to the next experience. So what is that mind chatter about? What are you telling yourself? And notice what happens with that feeling as you acknowledge and pay attention to what your mind is telling you. Just keep breathing into your heart. Notice how it shifts. Do you get more anxious? Or are you able to just acknowledge and release? If you're able to acknowledge and release, then you've softened your border. And if you're feeling more anxious, or more revved up, or more emotional, just acknowledge to yourself that you hear what the monkey mind is telling you. Acknowledge that mind chatter. You don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to try to change it. Just keep breathing into your heart. And telling yourself, I hear you. Thank you for the input. Thank you, I hear you. And keep breathing. And just allow it to kind of chatter on. It probably, if you like to stay in that space of being positive, but you've had this resistance for a while, it probably has a lot to say. So you can spend some time listening to it, just like you would your child. When your child is in a place of angst, there's nothing you need to do, but just listen and acknowledge. So if you're having trouble just listening and acknowledging, affirm to yourself, I'm willing, I am willing to acknowledge this voice. Keep breathing into your heart. And now ask yourself what else you're willing to experience. Are you willing to take another step forward to see what's true about your experience? Are you willing to relax and acknowledge how you feel? Whatever it is that you're willing to do in this moment, acknowledge that to yourself. I am willing. And maybe the acknowledgement is just to be willing. And take another deep breath. Feel how it feels to relax into being willing to be willing. Feel that openness and relaxation that you get. And notice what happens with the monkey mind when you just become open to being willing. So there's nothing else that you have to do in this moment. But acknowledge how you feel, that there is something that you're telling yourself that perpetuates that feeling, and that you are just willing to be here with it right now. And as you play with this, and I encourage you to work with this if you're feeling resistance in a particular area in your life, as you sit in this place of acknowledgement and willingness, you can begin to ask yourself, what am I willing to do? What is the next thing that I am willing to do? Or how am I willing to be next? So take another deep breath. Feel yourself in your body. Feel where you are in your heart. And then come back into your physical space. And it's 7:31.
Good timing.
All right. Okay, well, I encourage all of you who are listening to this or watching this or are watching it in the future or now to just work with this a little bit. Be gentle with yourself and remind yourself at every turn of resistance that you can just relax and open into this willing attitude and see what that happens and what opens up for you as you soften this border with your willingness. So I think that's it for tonight, unless you have something else, Amanda.
Nope, that's perfect.
Awesome. Awesome.
Be willing. That's your motto this week.
It is. And if you're not in our Joyful Vibrant Life group, we'll put a link down. We're on Facebook. You can actually look for Joyful Vibrant Life and you'll find us. We also have a Facebook page. We have a group where we discuss our power half hours and what seems to be coming up in the energies at various times of the month. And then we also have a Facebook page that you can like that's also called Joyful Vibrant Life. And that's where we post our events. And that's where we will initially share this video is on that page. So please come and join us there and join us again for another Power Half Hour. So until the next time, have a wonderful month. Have a month of being open and willing and soft and gentle with yourself. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Amanda.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.